My name's Stephen Evans. I'm a Sydney-based artist. I recently left Bondi Beach and I'm now based in a studio in Marrickville in a place called Soundworks Arts Hub. I sort of split my time between working here in my studio, doing commissions and working on pieces for exhibitions, painting murals, running painting workshops in Sydney and Melbourne, and generally getting out there and doing plein air painting whenever time permits. I would describe my artistic style as, well, first of all, realism. I was trained as a scenic artist, set painter and set designer, and you learn a lot in the film and theatre industry about recreating illusion of realism. My style is probably, it's realism with what I call forced perspective. Anyone who's trained as a draftsman or an artist knows about perspective in the way of horizon lines, vanishing points, creating a three-dimensional image on a flat surface. And I like to take those elements and I like to warp them and stretch them and push them as far as I can, generally to fit as much as I can, as much information and as much landscape into a canvas. With regards to my palette or the colours I use, I'm very conscious of colour, relating it to temperature and light. I don't use black in my palette. Black and white are tones and colour is hue. So I tend to work with hues more. For example, if I'm going to create highlights, I will use warmer, lighter colours in the palette range, like yellows, oranges, lime greens, and for my shadows or darker areas, obviously the more colour you mix, the darker it gets, and I go for the more cooler tones like blues and deep greens, things like that. So what I think I'm trying to do is recreate in the Australian light and how it affects colours. When you're up in northern Queensland, the light is bleached and diffused, whereas when you're down in Hobart, Tasmania, it's very crisp and very vivid. And it's a real challenge for me to try and recapture that for the person to be able to see what I'm seeing. So which colour is my favourite in the Australian colour? It changes from painting to painting, but at the moment I'm really getting into the Australian sienna. I probably started finger painting when I was a kid, like most kids. I found that as I evolved into a professional artist, finger painting became a really good way to get an idea down on canvas very quickly. A lot of it involves rubbing and blending. I used to use palette knife a lot of the time for this technique, but I find that because it's more sensory, that you can actually feel the paint and what it's doing when you're using your fingers. It's the great way to get the idea down very quickly. So almost like what you're seeing and what you're imagining is immediate on the canvas. It's also so much fun. The ideas generally come from having all my studies and all these ideas all on random books and bits of paper. Well, firstly, the style I paint, which is realism, I believe is a really good way to allow people into your work, allow them access to your work, because you've already given them a subject matter that they can relate to more easily. Yeah, so one of the techniques I use for, especially working in larger areas of canvas is it's almost like tone dropout. So when the viewer looks up close to one of my paintings, it looks quite almost semi-abstract or impressionistic. But as the viewer goes further away from the canvas, their eyes, or your eyes, will actually blend two shapes together and create realism. And the technique I use to do that, which is a very impressionist technique, is by, not that I recommend it for everyone to do, is I actually blur my vision. Yeah, generally it's you squint a certain way or you close your eyes a certain way, and it'll actually set your eyes out of focus. And what that gives me is the impression of how the painting looks from 20 feet away. And then I paint that from 2 feet away. And then when I refocus my eyes, I see abstract. But if I walk back, I see exactly what I was seeing when I was painting it out of focus. So the person who's right at the back of the theatre should be able to see everything as clearly as the person who's in the front row. I love cloudscapes. I always liken it to this because I've got two kids, and when they were little, and I used to pick them up from preschool, all the drawings and paintings had clouds in them. So the first thing a child learns to paint is either a flower or a house or a big sunny day, mum and dad, and clouds. Clouds are in all my skies. So whether it's a sunrise or a sunset or a cloudscape, they're my favorite thing. When I'm teaching my workshops, one of the first things I teach them as a warm-up exercise is clouds, because basically you can't paint a wrong one. A painting is finished when I think you get to a point where if you put one more brush stroke or one more palette knife mark or one more finger or thumb mark, it goes from being the painting in front of you to the next painting. So you get to a stage where a painting, you can't do any more to it without turning it into something else. And that's when you have to sign it and walk away from it. So these are my noise cancelling headphones. As you can see, like everything in my studio, including me, they're covered in paint. And I wear these and listen to podcasts or music, or at the moment I'm learning a language. And I can just have that going all day while I'm in my little happy place at the easel. I started experimenting working on different surfaces. So I was doing a bit of work on timber and then started painting on fiberglass when I started doing surfboards. And then I was commissioned by a musician to paint an electric guitar for them to play on stage. So I needed to start working in acrylic because it's very durable and it works really well on surfaces that are non-porous.